Hello everybody, this is Davina from Teacher Success Coach. Yes, I'm coming to you a little bit early today because I finished early today and I've got quite a few things I need to do in terms of sorting my lessons out, etc. So I thought, okay, let me come on now and then I'll have the time to do what I have to do. Okay, today was the day we finished half day because the afternoon is taken up by parents who come in to see the school, so prospective parents to see this. Prospective parents are coming to see the school to make a decision as from next September. Oh yeah, next September, whether or not they want the child to come to that school because it's an all-girls school, as I said before. Sorry, it's a fantastic school in terms of they have no discipline issue. It's the discipline issue is very, very minor. It's just children talking, they don't know when to keep their mouth shut, giggling. That's basically it. There's nothing in terms of major thing. Plus, when they're talking a lot and you actually just remind them of the behavior policy that you are going to, give them the detention, etc., they're quiet. You're able to teach. You're able to teach quite a lot, which is quite nice for me. What I'm grateful for today, woo! As usual, I'm grateful for being alive, having an opportunity to do the things I would love to do, an opportunity for doing the things I didn't do yesterday, and to see opportunity in everything I'm doing today. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Sorry, I've got a cough. I'm also grateful for the fact that my family are there okay, my friends are okay. I'm also grateful for the opportunity to teach in the school I'm teaching in because it's a lovely school. I'm not too sure whether or not I'm going to stay there because although it's lovely, there's sometimes, there's certain things we're thinking, okay, it's lovely, but I wonder what this other one would be like because I'm teaching health and social care. I love health and social care, but psychology is my greatest love. Psychology and sociology, they are my greatest love. Right, so sorry, I'm still looking for psychology and sociology. So I've given myself a time, and if I don't get it within that time, then I'll just do health and social care. I love health and social care, but as I said, psychology and sociology, my greatest love or my greatest passion. So that's what I'm grateful for, the opportunity to work in a really nice school. I've had some lovely school, but the last year from January to March to July, what am I saying? January to June, the school was okay, but I had a few behavior issues. I'm still grateful for that because it actually enabled me to navigate differently, and I've learned a hell of a lot in that school. So there's no way I could see only the negative. I have to see the plus. And I think the plus in that school was, for me, in terms of learning, was greater than the negative because it have made me a better teacher in terms of the challenges I experienced in that school. And another thing in that school, the school I was in from January to June, they did not know, the teachers that was there didn't have a clue regarding health and social care. So I actually had to put the health and social care project and the whole thing together. So it actually reminded me of the skills I've actually ignored. And I gained a greater love for health and social care than I didn't have before. I had liked health and social care, but it wasn't a love. I always say to the agency, oh, don't give me health and social care. But I'm glad that I took on the health and social care section because it actually heighten or tap into my love for areas of health and social care. And I really, really, really did enjoy it when I was putting the whole program together with health and social care in the school. And it meant that me doing health and social care, now I realize, oh my goodness, although I love psychology and sociology, I really do love health and social care. But as I said, it is not my greatest passion. I love it, but it is not my greatest passion. And I've actually have a renewed love for health and social care, and I'm seeing areas I didn't see before. although I taught the whole level of health and social care, now I'm seeing areas of, oh my goodness, did I miss that? So that was quite good in terms of me teaching in that school I taught in from January to June. So that's something I'm grateful for. Another thing I'm grateful for, the students I've got. It's so beautiful to see. I'm connecting it with my win as well. It is so beautiful to see my students shine. They are just glowing. I'm not saying they all are glowing, but 90% of them are glowing. It's so beautiful to see. You know, it's really lovely. As usual, anywhere they see you, they're actually saying hello to you, and you know, all these things. I got on the bus with a group of students just now. Oh, let Miss go first. No, it's okay, you guys go. No, Miss, you must go first. I think, oh gee. You know, so things like that. So it's really is nice. Another thing is, so those are my things I'm grateful for. Grateful for being alive, grateful for having my family around, grateful for having great friends, grateful for the opportunity to do things I'm able to do, grateful for the fact that when I open my cupboard, there's some food in my cupboard. Oh, I'm so grateful for those things. And those are things that too often we take for granted. We should never, ever take things for granted. You never know what life would be like, and I have been on a journey that have made me reassess the things I used to take for granted. Oh my goodness, did I used to take things for granted? Oh, I think that God wanted me to realize that things I took for granted, I need to start appreciating them a lot more. So he actually put me on a journey that made me realize and began to appreciate the things I used to take for granted. Anyway, let me just go into my wins. Today, one of the wins I actually had was, although we finished half day, I had 3 lessons. 3 lessons? Yeah, I think I had 3 lessons. I had year 10. No, I didn't have year 10 today. I had year 11s, year 12, and year 13s. Yes. And my year 13s, I had year 13s in the morning. And I have to remind them that if they continue with this negative behavior, I would actually have to give them the detention, which I don't want to, but they need to stop the negative of the name calling, the calling each other the stupid, the silly, and you know, I just need to get them to remember that these negative words are not very positive and not very powerful. So they really do need to change in their mindset. So that's something I really need to deal with that group on. So in terms of my win, towards the end of the lesson with that group, it was interesting because they began to connect and to see what I was saying in terms of the words they're using. Because one student called another one, you know, that they were silly, and they would actually pull her up and say, no, that's really negative. You know, we need to stop using those words. And for me, I think, oh, wow. So therefore, I'm making an impact. I'm making a difference. So that was quite nice. Another thing is they're beginning to connect because we're doing research methods. Research method is not a topic students love. And even educators don't love research methods, especially if maths isn't your forte. I love it because it connects with research. And I love research. So, you know, on those aspects. And it's health and social care. So I could actually bring in psychological research in it as examples. And I could bring in sociological research in it as examples. So on those bases, it's quite nice because it means that I can actually make connection with other areas of life. So I'm not just using health and social care research. I'm able to use psychology, sociology, and just life in general. So in terms of doing research method, that was quite nice because the students were able to see the connection. And when I asked them for examples, they were actually able to give me examples from their own life. And that was, you know, I think, oh my goodness, they've got it. Because when you could actually connect anything you're doing academically to your life, it means that you're beginning to understand it because you're making the connection and you're making the link. So the fact that the students were able to give me examples of, you know, when we're looking at quantitative and qualitative data, when they were able to link that to their own life experiences, ooh, it means that my job is becoming easier. So that was one of my wins today. The other one is I had a year 10 group. And initially they're chatty. I said to them, guess what? I found the behavior policy. I said, I had it, but I wasn't even paying attention to it. I've got it. So I now know what I need to do with you guys in terms of the behavior policy. Oh, miss, it's not right. I said, yes, it is. So we had a few minutes, you know, on that dialoguing about it. So it was really good when they realized, oh, miss knows what she's talking about when it comes to the behavior policy. So in terms of the attitude, they began to actually start taking things on and realizing that I'm not just a supply teacher. I'm a teacher who knows what's happening, because too often students tend to want to play up supply teachers. Funny, we were talking about that in the staff room yesterday, that when there's supply teachers who don't make the mark, who actually take control of the sessions, students tend to play up supply teacher because they think, oh, you don't know the policy, or you don't know what's going on, so they could do what they want. You know, so I actually had to remind my students, oh, don't worry, I've got the behavior policy, so I know what's going on in there. So we finish early. So whenever I actually saying to them, okay, guys, you know, you guys finishing at 12:20, we almost finish it, and it's like the excitement. I say to them, whoa, are you guys saying that my lesson is so boring? Are you guys not understanding my lesson? Or you guys don't like my lesson? They said, no, miss, we really love your lesson, and we're really learning a lot in your lesson, and it's really fun. I said, okay, I hear you enjoying it. I hear you learning my lesson. I hear it's fun. But what I need to check is how much is going into your head, and how much are you able to summarize for me? So that was really nice. The fact that students are saying they're connecting with your lesson and they understand and enjoying it, which is really good, because it means half the battle done. Because something I say to them is, I need to get you mentally in the place that you're able to enjoy the lesson, so you're able to understand it. Because if your mind is not in a relaxed phase and you are anxious, it means that you will not be learning in lessons. So if I'm able to get you at that phase where you are relaxed, and therefore you are able to take it on without anxiety, it means that you will be able to remember the information, you're going to be able to store it. So on those bases, I realized that my students are beginning to store the information, because I then test them later on, because I, you know, did, you know, random throwing questions out. And then I had a series of 12 questions to check their knowledge. And it was fantastic that they really did take in the information. Because when we enjoy things, we would remember it, because we enjoy it, so we're going to remember it. So they're actually either enjoying the topic we're doing, which is well-being, health and well-being, and they're also enjoying the teaching, because I'm teaching a very different way, not chalk and talk or copying everything on the board. There's lots of questions and answers, and, you know, writing on flip chat and all of that. There's mind maps, so it's all of those things. So I realized that it's actually working. And when they say, yes, miss, we're enjoying your lesson, and when I test it, I'm thinking, whoa. So for me, that was a real big win today, that they've actually learning, they're enjoying it, they're taking it in, they're able to summarize it for me, you know, because I minimize it and ask them to summarize it, and I say, okay, what you're taking away from the lesson. So that was really good for my year 11, because that is an exam unit. And if I could actually get them to continue in that way, whoa, it means my job going to be so much easier, because they are connecting with it. So when it's come for revision, it's going to be much easier. Because I say to them, I want them to continuously reading up what I teach them the day before, because when I come the next morning, I'm going to give them I'm going to give them a test whereby I'm going to throw questions out, and they would need to answer it. So which means that they need to be on the ball. So that was one of my big wins today. So I felt really, really happy that as an educator, my job is being done and I'm making an impact. Another thing I say to them as well, because I do my basket of quotes and I do my quotes on the board, And then I asked 3 students to feedback. And I say to them that they need to be kind to themselves and be kind to other people. So one student said, Miss, I thought of you yesterday. I said, really? What did you think about me? She said, oh, there was someone someone that was walking, and I looked at them, and there was something nice about them, and I had to compliment them. Because I remember you say to us that when you see someone nice on somebody, you need to compliment them, because it's really nice to empower people. So she said to me, Miss, and it felt so good because the person was really happy when I told them. So, and it was honest because they were really wearing something nice. And I'm thinking, whoa, that was really powerful, because she told me while she was coming into the classroom. And I said to her, oh, that's really nice. And I said to her, what I want you to do is, I'm going to ask you to say it in the class so that the others, are able to realize what you're talking about and could see the value in that. So she actually said it in the class, so which was really good. So it's like being kind and being honest and, complimenting people. When you see someone's done something well, you compliment them, because I'm just sick and tired of, we are always complaining when things go wrong. So when things go good, when things are good, we need to compliment it as well. That's something I constantly, very conscious of it. Because I know when something goes wrong, I am quick to say to people, hold on, I'm going to put in a complaint because, this is not right. But when something is right, oh my goodness, I really celebrate the individual and I celebrate the whole situation, because I think it is very, very important that we celebrate when things are good as much as when we are complaining, because they go hand in hand. There is no point in you complaining when it's bad, and when it's good, you say nothing. It's a pointless exercise. We need to do both of them. So those are some of the things I've actually had today in terms of my students. So, I left the school today feeling on an extra high. I usually leave the school on a high anyway, because normally my lessons go really well. When I mess up, I put my hand up, I mess up. So what? It's a learning curve. It's one of these things. So in terms of that, that's not an issue. So those are some of the things towards my win today. I've got a program I do in the mornings from 7 until 7:30. It is it's a talk show. I'm doing it with this guy called Ace God Talk, because it's also part of a therapy group I'm in, where we actually support individuals who are going through a number of challenges post the lockdown and post COVID, etc. So I do a counseling session. I counsel three people, in terms of getting them to where they need to be, because we're probably not even aware of how much depression and how much anxiety and stress is on the increase. I see it all the time with my students. So that's what I do, in the week, in the evening time. But the show I do in the morning, 7 to 7:30, we are looking at education. And Bernard Code wrote a book on how the British system, anyway, it's basically looking at subnormal, how the British education system have actually labeled Caribbean children subnormal, etc. And there was a TV program on, I think it's BBC or whatever, which one of the station on that. So it'd be fantastic for you guys to have a look at that. I'm going to drop the program on my Facebook page so that you guys could listen to it. And it is so important that 50 years on, when Bernard Code wrote his book, I was in primary school. So I didn't even know about the book until, years later, when I was a student. And now I've reread the book, and it's even more powerful for me now, because 50 years on as an educator, because when I read the book, I wasn't an educator. I was doing supplementary school. I used to teach in supplementary school. So it's like 50 years on, when I'm actually an educator, it actually reminds me even more how things have not changed in the education system. What has changed is the way they actually label our children is done in a much more subtle way. And the words that are used, much more subtle how words are used in terms of labeling our children. And the bias, the unconscious bias that is going on within the education system. Those are things that as educators, as parents, as carers, and even as people, even though you don't have children in the education system, is an awareness. We really need to be aware of all of these things. And is if a child doesn't come up in the radar of a teacher, that child become ignored. If a child is on the radar of a teacher, that child is labeled, and eventually that child would be excluded, etc., depending on how often that child comes on the radar of that teacher. What teachers are failing to realize is there is something called emotional disturbance, and it is not all about the children's behavior. The factor is what caused those behavior, because as we know, they're always a cause and effect. So we need to sometimes look at the underlying factor of that child behavior in the classroom. Have that child eaten? Have that child had somewhere properly to sleep? What are the issues going on in the child's home life? Is the child witnessing parents, abusiveness? There's so many things that's going on. So those are the things we need to look at when we're actually dealing with young people. There's so many underlying factors which, as parents and as educators, we are not aware of, or we putting a blind eye to it, or we're choosing to ignore it because either we can't be bothered, or we're busy, or we have all this unconscious bias. Because a fact is, when I had parents' evening with my with my 15-year-old school teacher, one of the things a number of teachers actually highlighted is, yes, he's a bright child. He's a very bright child. You don't need to tell me that, because I know my children and I know my child is bright. And another thing that they mention is he's very quiet. Yes, not every child would be talkative or expressive, but as educators, it is our role to make sure that every child in our class engage. So one of the things I had 3 teachers told me that, and I didn't tell 2 of them that was a teacher, but the third one, I felt compelled to actually say a few things to her. Because one of the things what the teachers, they were all saying is, he's quiet, he doesn't come up. One of them say he doesn't come up on my radar. So sometimes, you don't even know he's there. That is a bad teacher. Because as a teacher, you should ensure that every child in your class is engaged. And if you're not engaging every child in your class, sorry, my fellow educators, I see it as there is a problem with this educator. Because as an educator, you need to make sure you are engaging, you're tapping in with your children in the class to see whether or not they are understanding what you're talking about. So when one teacher said to me, oh, he's very quiet, does he really talk about the subjects that, we talk about? I'm not going to say the subject, because if I say that, if anybody look at my page, they're likely to know what teacher I'm talking about. Is it, do you guys discuss the subjects at home? Yes, we do. And her thing is, as I said, because he is not talkative, because he's very quiet, he doesn't come up on her radar, so therefore she doesn't know if he's understanding the topic or not. Really? Really? As an educator, you should be checking that every child in your class, A, is connecting, B, understand what you're talking about, C, you are able to connect with them before it's too late, so you know that the child doesn't understand what you talk about. So when a teacher is saying that to me, it raised concern for me as a parent. Not only an educator, as a parent, even more so as an educator. So when the third teacher say that to me, that, he's very quiet, he doesn't engage a lot, I say to the third teacher, I say, okay, but as a teacher, you need to check that that child is tapping in, that child understand what you're talking about, that you're reaching that child. So how do you check that you reach that child? And she couldn't say anything to me. I didn't want her to know that I know too much, that I was an educator. She probably suspected that. but that was my business. Because you see, you need to ask questions, and if you have one child constantly answering, you need to switch it to make sure that everybody is connecting in your class. It doesn't matter how shy these children are. You have to connect with them to check to see if they're understanding what's going on. For example, in one of my classes today, one student, when I asked her a question, I said to her, when I asked her for the answer, she didn't answer. I said to her, what's going on? If you don't know, it's okay to tell me you don't know. And then she said, oh, miss, I don't know. I said, that's fine. I said, you and I will have to have a conversation, but it's okay. We know that some children could feel, embarrassed, shy to talk, but we need to make sure that they're tapping in, and we're connecting with these people. Because we don't want it too late where way down the line, 3 months later, that child haven't understood what you taught 3 months ago. It is a crisis then. So that student who wasn't engaging, who told me that when I gave them some work to do, she said, oh, miss, I didn't do it. I did see her, for 10 minutes after. And she said to me, why, that there was an area she didn't understand, and I gave her something to do, and I said, okay, come back to me tomorrow, because I need to make sure that that student is understanding what I say before I move on. Because even though I move on, it means that I've left that student miles behind. So that's what I'm talking about. If you have a child in your class as educators that's not engaging, you need to engage with that student. If that student isn't engaging with you, you need to engage with that student. You need to tap into that student. You need to say, okay, does it make sense? And if you see that the student saying yes, but you know what, I'm not convinced, you see the student after, you have a discussion with the student, or else it means that you've left that student way behind. So as educators and as parents, you also need to tap into that. So that is what my program is about in the morning from 7 to 7:30. So I'm going to drop the link for you guys to have a look at, so you guys could have a listen to it. And as I said, what I'm looking at is Bernard Coates' book, that 50 years on, nothing have changed. I've read the book, I'm analyzing the book, and I see myself in that book, because when I came to this country, some of the emotional disturbance I was going through, the teachers couldn't be bothered. So I went through the whole system where I decided there was no point in me actually asking questions. There was no point in me even answering questions. There was no point in me even engaging in school. I hated school. I hated school with a passion. I hated school because how the teachers made me feel, how the children made me feel. I cried every day while I was at school. Oh my goodness. This is 3 programs for me to talk about that. So as an educator, I don't make, when it comes to bullying, I don't make joke with that. In terms of words that I use, language that I use, the physical, I don't mess around with that, because I know as a student within the British education system, I had a journey. And for me, the plus was I had a fantastic mother. Oh my goodness, I'm becoming really emotional. Whoa, I'm becoming emotional. Oh my goodness, sorry guys. Because I start talking about my mother passed away 5 years ago. And anytime I talk about mommy sometimes, especially when it comes to education, I become very, very emotional. Because she was a very, 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 she was a single mother. But she was a fantastic woman. She was so determined to make sure that, how they wanted to treat me in education, she wasn't having it. Yes, she was well educated, so that was an advantage. But that doesn't mean if you're not well educated, you cannot be proactive in your child's education. Well, anyway, guys, have a fantastic evening, morning, wherever you are. Take care. Stay blessed. I'm becoming so emotional. I need to come off. Bye-bye.